Tony Amato, owner of Amato Roofing, father of two, you know, just doing my thing like everybody else. I am what I am.
So what got you into construction? What made you interested in working with your hands and stuff like that?
It goes back to, working construction, working with my hands goes way back to when I was a little kid. I mean, I've always worked with my hands. I've always done projects, whether it was my dad had a little workshop down in the basement. He was always tooling on stuff, and I'd be there with him. My grandpa was a carpenter, and so my weekends, my summer breaks off of school was all spent working with my grandpa. I was probably 11 years old, 11, 12 years old, and I was a staple on the crew. Me and Papa, weekends, summer break. I mean, I was building custom cabinets with him. We'd go to Amish country, get roughs on wood, take it back to the shop, mill it down, and making custom cabinets. That's when custom cabinets didn't come in a cardboard box. We built custom cabinets. I was doing that at 11, 12 years old. And we'd build custom cabinets, we built decks, we'd do anything and everything. And that was kind of my start. And it just went from there, and I had a few odd jobs out of high school, little this, little that. But it always seemed like the construction field always, it was really easy for me to get a job in the construction field because of my skill set that I had at so young. And it paid better than, being a bag boy at the grocery store, washing dishes at the local restaurant around town. I got into a construction job, and it always had better hours and better pay. Wasn't really the path that I chose. It chose me. It was better hours, better money, and that's just what you did. And it evolved from there. I wanted to be an astronaut, wanted to be a chef, wanted to be an artist, airbrushing hot rods and stuff. You had all these dreams and aspirations, but it was always so easy I just fit right in the construction industry. And it's just snowballed from there.
So what was your first, outside of working with family, what was your first professional construction job?
I think the first professional construction job outside of working for family was, I might have still been in high school. I was still in high school working on the summers, or I was just graduated. I think I was still in high school. And I worked for Mark Bishop, hired me, and we were doing a lot of replacement windows, small garages, 24 by 24, 2-car garages, pull buildings, stuff like that was probably my first. And I went from working for him. Also, I did a little bit of did some commercial drywall work back in the day for a little bit. Did some residential trim. I worked for a guy that did all the trim work in custom homes. He worked for custom home builders, and he had the contract to do all their trim. So we would do all of the hardwood floors we put down, all the baseboard casing. We'd set the doors, the doorknobs, build the fireplace mantles, do the stairs. Then I kind of went back into the garage and pole barn thing. So those were kind of the mains, windows, siding, small garages. Did some commercial drywall, hanging and finishing. Did the custom home trim thing, and came back to a lot of it was heavily agricultural based. We did a lot of work for farmers, did a lot of work on, and then it evolved into that where we were working on a lot of the old barns, building livestock facilities, and it really, the ag end really grew from there. We did some painting and stuff back in the day, a little bit of roof coating, a lot of the silver coating. We old bank barns. We actually put silver coating over top of slate. We did some crazy stuff back in the days. We can get into that later. But that's the, probably the beginning 4 or 5 guys that I worked with, bouncing kind of back and forth in the trades.
So then metal roofs came along, or how did you go from doing, the buildings to actually really focusing on metal roofs?
So the metal roofs, I mean, it goes way back to when I was, all the way back. We were doing metal, and we were doing agricultural jobs. So we were on these farms, and all these farmers own multiple farms. And so they got the farm that they live on, then they own all these other farms that they farm the ground and typically rent out the houses. And so we would work on their old barns. We'd put a metal roof on their old barn. We'd build them new facilities, and we'd put metal roofs on those, metal sides. And they'd say, "Hey, I got this old farmhouse out here. It's just a rental. It's fallen in. It needs a roof. What do? We put metal on it." And so that's how we got some of those first metal roof jobs, where we were on these old farmhouses for these farmers, and we throw metal roofs on their farmhouses. And that was quite a big chunk of our bread and butter work was the ag business, and working on their rental properties on different farms, or if there's different family members could live on different farms, however it was. And then we would sneak in a few just residential metal house roofs, just kind of here and there that would get snuck in. That long ago, that was 25 years ago. That long ago, it was kind of a hard sale, the residential metal roof, because people in this area especially didn't really see it. You see it more on the coasts and stuff like that. But around here, Northeast Ohio, 25 years ago, a metal roof on a residential house was kind of unheard of. People looked at us crazy when they said they wanted us to shingle their roof, and no, you want metal. It was a hard sale, but we still did plenty of them. We did plenty of them, and it's just evolved from that over the years to you see them more and more and more and more, and now everybody out there is coming around to the residential metal.
So when did you decide to go out on your own and start your own business?
So through it all, you work for somebody else, and as you work for somebody else, my bosses were always had their thing going, had their clients, had their backed up work, had their bread and butter. And there was always work that would pop up that they weren't really interested in. And say, well, if you guys aren't interested in that, then go get it. And so I would kind of side job for a lot of the common clients. If they would have work that my bosses weren't really interested in chasing that work, I would chase some of these smaller jobs. So I always had stuff on the evenings and the weekends that I would run on my own as I was working for my regular bosses. And you just kind of, you grow. One of my old bosses back in the day, this was a long time ago, he says to me, if one of your employees comes to you and they want any more than $12 an hour, they need to run their own show. So with that mindset, you're in a company, you're running work on the side, you want to advance with that company, but you kind of hit the point in a company where you plateau and you max out. If that company's not growing, if they're not going in a direction where there's a place for you to grow any further, for you to evolve, you plateau. And once you plateau, you only have so many options. Be comfortable where you're at, or move on to another venture. And so that's where you bounce around to different bosses, and you always chase that dollar raise. Or it was in my mind for years, probably for the last 6-7 years before I went out on my own, was, man, I should go out on my own. Man, I should go out on my own. But it's scary. What if? I got bills to pay, I got rent to pay, I got food, I got, my vehicle payments and this and that. It's really scary to make the jump to go out on your own. So you think about it for a long time. And like I say, I was basically plateaued at the company I was at, and I had work backed up on the side, and I went to my boss and I said, listen, I'm getting older, and the company's doing well, and I think that my vision for the company and my position in the company, I wanted to be more of management, job site superintendent, whatever you want to call it. I kind of wanted a different title, a different position. I wanted to do less work, make more money, and I proposed that to him. We need younger guys. I want to do less work. I want to make more money. This is how I see it going. And he basically said, there's plenty of work out there. I also said, I'm either going to do it with you or I'm going to do it on my own. If that plan doesn't fit in your business model for me, I'm going to have to make it for myself. And he basically said, well, there's plenty of work out there for all of us, and good luck to you. And I was fine with that, and we parted ways, as friends. It wasn't, there was no hard feelings, I don't believe. And it was just, okay, it's time. It's time. And so I just went at all my side jobs were now my job. And it flowed right into the transition, because you were always building tools on the side. You were always, you were growing your business, and I just flowed right into it. And so that was the birth. It's really hard to put your finger on where the real birth was, because it was the whole side jobs was the business starting, was the business growing. And then I dropped my 9 to 5, and the business just kept going.
What are some of the things that you learned from your past bosses going into doing your new business, good and bad?
Exactly. Things that I learned from my old bosses these are things that I've said over and over again. Is I always told myself I wanted to take the good things that I learned from my bosses and try to emulate them. And I wanted to take the bad things that I learned from my bosses and that I didn't like and wasn't happy about, and try to improve and or not do them or improve on them or whatever. I always told myself that's what I would do, is mimic the good and try to repair the bad. So, specifics, the good stuff of the guys that I worked for, well, they were all business owners, and so that says a lot that they were all go-getters. There's a lot of character traits that are in business owners that you see across the board, whether it's in construction, whether it's in swimming pool manufacturers, whether you're in the oil industry. I know a lot of business owners in different businesses, and all of these people share a lot of the same character traits. And so those character traits I knew that I needed to mimic, and I had a lot of them. And a lot of it's just hard work and dedication. They all believed wholeheartedly in their business. They believed in what they were doing. They believed in the product they were doing, so a sale was easy for them because they believed in themselves and they believed in their product. And they all worked hard from sun up to sundown. It was, their business was their baby. And, there was times to be stern and there was times to have fun also. All of my bosses, there was times to joke and play and there was times to get serious. And that was, other things that I learned from them, that it's okay to have fun on the job. We need to be safe first. We need to be productive second. And then it's okay to have some fun. So those are a lot of the good things that I learned from my bosses. Some of the bad things that I didn't want to do, some bosses were, and it's all in how you look at it. Some bosses were quick to let guys go. I think when some guys needed another chance. Some guys just needed a little bit of, so some guys let guys go pretty quick. Some guys, just the business end, I feel, which I'm only just now really kicking up my business end of the deal. That I have not done well with that in my early business days of actually running a business. I'm a heck of a carpenter. I'm a heck of a worker. And I've always focused on that and really kind of left the business end of it slide because I'm not a businessman. I work with my hands and I make things. I'm a lot of times I consider myself an artist. It's turned into my art form. So the business end definitely, I've had, bosses talk about, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to, whether it be, benefits, whether it be profit sharing, whether it be, just a lot of false promises. And I never wanted to make my guys false promises. If I said something to my guys, something that the business was going to do, I wanted to do it. And I wanted to make my business as legitimate as I could and take care of my employees as well as I could to keep employees. So those are the good things that I wanted to emulate, and just kind of touching on a few of the bad things. It's really hard for me to pick out bad things on my bosses because at the end of the day, some of them, when you're caught up in the moment, you're caught up in the moment. But when you look back, you're like, man, those they cared, they worked hard, they did their best, and they're all good guys. They're all good guys to this day. And so that's all I can do in my business is just try and do my best.
So you're starting to see your business now go from residential roofing and agricultural roofing. You're starting to make a transition into the commercial side of roofing. What was it that kind of spurred that expansion of your business?
So to me it's a little bit of a blurry line for me in my situation, transitioning from residential agricultural to commercial, because in my mind, and it's not in my mind, it's a fact, the agricultural industry is a commercial industry. When I say I worked in the agricultural field of construction, we didn't work for somebody that has a backyard farm. We didn't work for people that have a goat tied out on a chain and 5 chickens. We worked for people that were milking 500-600 dairy cows. We worked for people that were milking 1,000 dairy cows. Even if you worked for a farm where they milked 60 dairy cows, it was a commercial operation. They ran it as a business. And so that being said, I feel like I have some experience in the commercial field, speaking to commercial business owners that deal with the same real world issues that a factory that sews buttons on ice cream cones. It all translates. So the business transitioned into quite a bit of metal roofing. And 25 years ago, when we started the residential metal roofing in this area, I considered us to be pioneers in the industry, where we were some of the very, very few that were doing it. And we pioneered the industry. We screwed up so much early on that we had a heck of a knowledge in what we were doing and the tricks that we did and how it ought to be done, what works and what doesn't work. And we grew and we grew and we transitioned and we were at a place. And then the industry caught up with us. The industry caught up with us where it started to catch on. All the shingle guys started to go, oh, wait a second, maybe this metal stuff is a thing. Maybe we need to start thinking about a metal division in our company. So for a long time, we didn't have guys that we bid against. And now there's a whole lot more competition. Everybody out there, every shingle crew out there now offers metal roof installations. So the market is getting more saturated. So I'm bidding against more guys. There's more new guys underbidding. And so I just kind of seen the saturation of the market happening, and I knew that I wanted to evolve my business somewhere, somehow. And we had always been painting buildings. We'd always been painting large roofs. We dabbled in coatings. We did quite a bit of the silver coatings on old agricultural buildings. We did silver coatings over slate. We did silver coatings over large buildings with metal roofs, the old corrugated metal roofs. We did quite a bit of that. And I did some research, and I started hearing about the elastomerics and the acrylic coatings, and it was kind of new technology. And I seen that as, just like in the beginning of the metal roofs on residential, I thought, man, if I can get in early on this around here, because there's not a lot of guys talking about it. And so I did more and more research and looked at different products, looked at different companies, looked at different manufacturers, and I really felt that it would be a new niche to get in around this area that I could offer and see what happens. And it just kind of led me down the rabbit hole to, I was looking at it in the agricultural industry, and as I researched more, it led me into the commercial world. And I said, well, it looks like, hey, I'm already comfortable here. It only makes sense that this is where this is going to lead me. And so that was kind of the transition to it. We basically had most of the equipment and experience as well, because we've been painting, we've been running the pumps, we've been doing the pressure washer thing, we've been on roofs, we've been dealing with leaking metal systems, we've been running the oldest of the coatings ever imaginable, the old, the dreaded silver stuff. So it only made sense. It was the same thing like how I started in construction. I didn't choose it, it chose me. And I didn't choose commercial roof coatings, it chose me. It made sense. It was a natural progression. It was a natural transition to it. And so I'm not entering the field from zero. I'm entering the field with years of knowledge of running spray equipment, of running, material through hoses, and, so all of the facts of the machines and the equipment and the terminology we're already familiar with. So it just makes sense to make the natural progression into commercial roof coatings.
So you're being a pioneer again.
Not necessarily the pioneer, because as I do my research, it's known. It's not like I just discovered this on my own. It's out there. There's guys doing it. But just like anything, I feel that it is in its infancy and growing, and the technology is changing and evolving as well. And if you look at the national statistics in the growth of the industry, every industry, the fluid applied roofing systems, the money nationwide is multiplying like crazy. The industry is growing like crazy. And so it's a good time to get into it. And it's a green choice. It's an economical choice. It's energy saving choice. Going back to the green thing, is it extends an existing roof instead of replacing it. It saves room in the landfills. It just makes so much sense. The other issue that we're dealing with now is raw material shortages. Raw material shortages in every industry, and delivery issues, shipping issues. So there's all these issues that everybody's dealing with in the industry, and the fluid applied roofing systems is offering an answer. They're offering a solution to the issues, and it just makes so much sense. You're silly not to do some research and look into it. And that is some of the reasons why the business is growing, just multiplying year after year. This year, the fluid applied industry again is looking to break records of the money spent in fluid applied roofing across the country.